I do miss the Divas era. I miss that. So I actually got fired from that show because I was too short, believe it or not. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Too small for the set. We were of that era. You know what I mean by that? The full glam, the pageantry, all of that. Women's roles in wrestling. It doesn't have to be linear. I think a woman in her true power knows how to use all those different angles.
Hi guys, SoCal Val here with another episode of Velvet Ropes for Wrestling News Co. with the beautiful Kristal Marshall, looking fabulous. How you feeling, Kristal?
I'm doing well. How are you? It's been a while.
It's been a while, and I actually have to tell you that I was bragging to my friend Tracy Brooks, another wrestling alumni, and I said I'd interviewing Kristal today, and she goes, "Is she not the most gorgeous girl you've ever seen?" And I was like, "Oh my God." Not all, in my opinion, one of the most stunning women of wrestling ever, but that aside, honestly, you're so beautiful, but you're so talented. We're just thrilled here that Wrestling News Co. can get your thoughts on your illustrious career. And I'm not even sure where to start because I've interviewed you before and you're always such a delight and you're so, your reputation in wrestling is stellar. But if we can go back to the nitty gritty, how did you get your start in this crazy world of professional wrestling? In case the fans are watching and they don't know how you got into it, tell us.
Well, once upon a time, many years ago, I think I was about 20 years old, I was very much a risk taker. And so I was on a show called The Price is Right. And after that wrapped up, I actually got fired from that show because I was too short, believe it or not. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Too small for the set. So they canned me and I ended up getting picked up on Deal or No Deal. So this is my low-key brag. I worked with Meghan Markle.
I was about to say, are you telling me that Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, who is like one of my faves, did you work alongside her? Did you meet her? What? Give us the tea there, first of all. Hello.
I met her once, but I wouldn't say I worked alongside her because it was still, everybody kind of did their own thing. And then honestly, I was around for the pilot. And right after the pilot, then I transitioned into WWE. So it was like ships in the night kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I think back about this, with you living in England now, like, what if I would have played my cards a little differently? Do you think that I would have been, you know, maybe it would have been me and Harry? You never know.
You know what? I would think have you on like a coin and for you to be my monarch because hello, that face is made for a coin or a bill. That's no, but that's what people remember about Deal or No Deal, that Meghan Markle, and it was such a fun show, by the way. I love that kind of stuff. I always loved sort of the showgirl aspect of Price is Right.
Oh yeah.
Or, I wanted to kind of be like a Vanna, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the divas and the knockouts and the women of wrestling, we were of that era. You know what I mean by that? The full glam, the pageantry, all of that. Like, I feel like not that it's the end of this era, but we were kind of like the pioneers. We passed the baton, so to speak.
Right.
So there are some similarities between those industries for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And if we can talk about that, that's actually something that I love to discuss because people, always go, who's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? I didn't grow up wanting to be, and with all due respect, I love these women, but I didn't grow up wanting to be a Lita or a China or someone that was very physically involved in wrestling. I loved what you just said, the aspect of the diva, of the knockouts. And I personally loved the photo shoots, the evening gown matches, the idea, sometimes even just being the damsel in distress. Not always, but there's in my opinion, there's room for all of those different characters, right?
Absolutely.
Feminism to me is about having a choice, and you don't have to always be the, I can take you in the ring and be super tough. There's always the ones that are more of the modeling aspect or the Vanna Whites. Can we get your thoughts on that? If we can just start there, as far as like, it gets kind of a bad rap to say, and even I get flack for saying I loved the divas. I wanted to be a Stacy Keibler. I wanted to be a Tori Wilson. I didn't want to be a serious wrestler. So in your opinion, is that sort of a lost art?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I always say to myself, if there was ever an opportunity for me to go back to wrestling, I know that the girls, and especially our era, we did kind of help usher in this new era of female wrestling. And it's not that we didn't like being the glitz and the glam, we wanted the duality. We wanted to be able to do what we wanted to do. It wasn't just you're in this pink box or you're in this black box. We wanted to be in all the spaces, you know? So to touch on what you're saying, I think women's roles in wrestling, it doesn't have to be linear. You know, it could be you can have your damsel in distress, you can have your princess, you can have your Valkyrie, you know, you can have all these different flavors because in the real world, that's how it is. That's how women are, right? There's got to be something for everybody. But, you know, I do miss the Divas era. I miss that. I really do. I think it's amazing. I think a woman in her true power knows how to use all those different angles. You can be strong, you can be aggressive, assertive, you can be beautiful, you can be feminine, you can be the femme fatale. You need to do all those things. You need to be able to wear all of those hats. So, not that the girls aren't fabulous. I do miss that flavor.
I am so happy that I could talk to you about this because that is so refreshing to hear. Because again, I get kind of this flack about like, well, you know, I wanted to be a Rhea Ripley, and that's great, and Rhea Ripley is amazing.
But we'll talk about that too.
Oh my God, yeah. And like there were referring mostly to Jerry that, you know, remember the stripping off of the robe and it was like, damn you for trying to get me to cover up. And that I found really, really empowering. But women like Rhea Ripley and the females they have now, I do think there's diversity. But like, for example, I miss managers. What happened to managers? What happened to the Lanas, right?
I just had this conversation today. I won't tell you with who, but I did have this conversation today. You know, someone was asking, what do you want to do? I want to manage. I want to manage. I want to be a valet. Forget managing. Like, what about that? You know? And diversity is good. Diversity is good. But like, I feel like when we say diverse, it doesn't mean all the way on one side. It means this. A little bit of ebb, a little bit of flow, a little bit of variety. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's very, very well said. You have the Miss Elizabeths, you've got the Missy Hyatts, the Sunnies, for lack of a better term, the rich bitch characters, and that, you know, that were not physical wrestlers. And then you had the Chynas, the Rhea Ripleys, the ones that are able to, you know, Sasha, Mercedes Moné, that get in there and they can really, you know, tear it up in the ring. But I think diversity is really where it comes down to. Feminism is all about choice. And you can choose to be kind of more of the diva knockout photo shoots type, or you can be somebody that's taken very seriously as a women's wrestler for sure. Now, if I can touch on your time in WWE, in terms of the females that you worked with, what was it like in the locker room for you? And I want to preface this by saying we had Lisa Marie Varon, Victoria Tara, one of my besties who you know and love as well. And she gave us some insight about her very first memories of being in the WWE Divas locker room. And she had some great moments and she had some not great moments. She had to kind of prove herself, which we all, I think, have. What were your earliest memories of being in that Divas locker room? What do you remember the most as your earliest moments?
Gosh, I feel like there's so many. I think to kind of touch on what she said, just that desire to want to prove yourself. And I think for myself, I fell into that trap of, well, I'm going to learn wrestling. I'm going to be the best wrestler that I can be. I'm going to show them that I'm not just a pretty face. And of course, we're all not just one thing, but I think I really would have wished I would have embraced more of my strengths and wore the hats that I feel most comfortable in versus trying to force myself into a role that, first of all, I was not hired to do. I wasn't hired to do that. Not saying I couldn't have expanded on that, but there is a seat for every ass and a hat for every head, so to speak. So I wish I kind of, if I can give advice to girls starting the business, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Don't stay in your lane, create your own lane. You know, don't try to get in somebody else's, do your own thing. So yeah, that level of authenticity, that pressure to kind of conform in a lot of ways, because I came from a very different background than wrestling. I knew nothing about the business other than, you know, what I watched with my grandma when we watched wrestling on TV. That's it. As far as the inner workings of the business, and I'm going to catch flack for saying this, but the patriarchy within the wrestling business, I was not prepared for that at all. I had no idea. It was like somebody just ripping the Band-Aid off. And there was never a, hey, kid, you're doing this, and this is where you're entering, and this is how you show respect, and this is kind of how you get your footing and you navigate. There was none of that. It was very much a culture shock, but in the best of ways, you know?
Right, right. And it's so interesting to think about, you know, how the women's in particular how women's wrestling has evolved, and I think it's going into a great place. But then I do have that nostalgic thought of like, where are the managers? Where are the, I miss the photo shoots. The girls now, their gear is amazing. I'm always like, I'd love to see more of that in a photo shoot. Was that something that you were comfortable with when they asked you to do sort of more of that pin-up-y kind of stuff? Because I personally, I would, I always talk to Gail Kim about this because we joke about she was just there for the wrestling, and anything that involved glam and photo shoots, and I'm like, I'm the opposite. I groove like a beach. I don't want to wrestle. I want to be there to be the Sports Illustrated, Divas Caribbean Beach, whatever.
Right.
You enjoyed?
I did enjoy it. I feel like I missed out on a lot of the better photo shoots. Like, I did a good amount of the backstage ones, but the destination ones, I'm like, dang, I missed out on that. I didn't get to do that one. I didn't get to go. I didn't have a lot of that. So I did kind of feel like, dang, how come I didn't get to do that? So, I mean, that's what I was hired to do in the first place. But I will say, looking back at some of those photo shoots that I did, it's kind of cringy, and not because of the fact that it was like a pent-up style or supposed to be sexy. It was more so because, when you're in your early 20s, you really haven't quite figured out what works for you and what doesn't work for you as far as it looks. You're kind of looking at that girl like, oh, she's lighting her upper lid and her lower lid. I'm gonna try that. I'm like, yeah, well, he's almond eyes. So you haven't really quite figured out what works best for you. So it is kind of funny and kind of cute looking back. I'm like, oh, bro, you didn't know. You didn't know anything.
Right. And I can love it because I had two older sisters, right? But then I have friends that are like, oh, I only had brothers and they didn't know how to do the makeup. Like, I was learning from the divas. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I told Trish recently, I was like, I would go to the mall and be like, oh, this is a Trish outfit. I should buy that. Or, oh, Stephanie McMahon has dark red nails. I should have dark red nails. Things like that. But I have to ask you, so fans that are watching and wanting to be into wrestling, I always have to kind of caution them by saying there's some glamorous sides of wrestling and there are some very unglamorous sides of wrestling, making the towns, all of that. Can I ask you, what do you miss most about wrestling? And then as a second follow-up question, what do you not miss about the unglamorous side of wrestling?
I miss walking out of Gorilla and entering the arena. That feeling that you get when you see tens of thousands of people. And what's really funny is people that know me well, they wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a shy person, but I'm pretty introverted these days. But I will say I feel most comfortable right when I hit that entrance. There's something about that feeling, and it's so much easier to do and say anything in front of that many people. I don't have to be myself. The expectations that life has on me day to day, all that's out of the window. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to be who I want to be, and you're going to take it. And that is something that's just so incredibly, it's addictive, you know? It's addictive, and it's a very lucid kind of feeling too, because you're not going to find that anywhere else.
No.
So I miss that the most. Absolutely. The thing I miss the least, I did not like waking up early after I worked all night to make my flights. That was probably the worst. And didn't miss that. And I also don't miss traveling to some amazing places and not being able to explore it. That was like being edged to death. That's what that felt like. It's like you're almost there. You can't go see Big Ben, so I don't miss that. So I have on my bucket list a few places that I've been to before, but I've never explored. So I am looking forward to that in the next year.
Right. And I hope you can do that because I ask people that at Comic Cons and in wrestling. It's like, oh, so if you were to have a map and you can pinpoint where you've been, great. But did you actually get to see that place? No. I saw the Waffle House. I saw the airport. That's a very common answer about the unglamorous side of wrestling. But hopefully now that you're on your own time, you can actually go explore things. I would love to know that. Just a couple quick questions before you go. So I love to ask all the Comic Con people this question because when you have your downtime, now that you don't have to be on the road every single second, what are you a fan of? Be it, TV, films, hobbies. What is Kristal enjoying that's outside of the wrestling business?
Food. I'm really into cooking right now. I'm into cooking. My son plays football. My kids are athletes, so just catching up on their sports.
They are.
Yeah, I know. They didn't have a choice. So watching them, in sports and things like that, that's a big pastime. Spending, something as simple as talking to my best friend on the phone daily. We have a thing where we talk first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening. Like it doesn't matter about what. So I that's what I do with my time is connect with my friends and family.
Yeah.
And, plan trips, that sort of thing. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, just catching up with friends, loved ones, traveling, eating some more. Did you watch Hunting Wives, by the way, on Netflix?
No, I watch Real Housewives. What are these hunting wives doing? What am I missing, girl? Tell me.
It's not a reality show.
Oh,
No, it's a mini series and it is insane. It's not something that you should watch around children. Maybe not even yet, to be honest. Like
now I'm intrigued. No kids
not,
allowed. What is going on in this? In that
not even around your husband. Like he'll get too many ideas. I think that you need you need to watch it and then report back.
Okay. And then we're going to start our own Hunting Wives recap show, and that'll be here on Wrestling News Co.
You know what? We can do that. I don't think we can do.
Wait, did that scandalous? What am I getting myself into, Kristal Marshall? What the heck?
It's pretty scandalous. I don't watch a lot of TV or series, but if I do, it's that. It's
Okay.
that. And the other thing that I watch every night is Scandal. I know Scandal's old. I know it's old, but the way that I'm in love with Fitzgerald Grant, it needs to be studied.
I know. I love him. I have to tell you, I love Olivia Pope. They came out with like a line of her outfits for the limited years ago when it was on. She is the epitome of chic. Kerry Washington, what an amazing actress.
Oh, yeah. I just started rewatching it and I'm obsessed again. So
it's so good. Same. I'm like 24. I keep going back to it. No, we'd love to hear that because all the fans always kind of want to know, like, what's your comfort show? What are you watching when you're downtime? Now, my next question, you just mentioned travel. My next question was going to be about what's next for you after this interview. What are you looking forward to? But I know for a fact, my dear, that you are going to be a part of All Caribbean Wrestling. Talk about a show that's going to take you to a beautiful location. What are you excited for this promotion?
I am so excited about all of it. My family is from Barbados. I'm a first generation American. I am a dual citizen. So, the show that I'm going to be a part of is in Barbados. So it's like a huge homecoming of a sort, So it's a beautiful place and it's an opportunity for wrestling to expand in the heart of the Caribbean. So it's an honor. And I'm super excited for you guys to see it and to support it and watch it grow. So very much looking forward to that.
That's so exciting. All Caribbean Wrestling. Make sure that you're following them. And of course, Kristal, you can follow you for updates on social media. Any final words to your fabulous fans that are watching you here and how we can keep up to date with you?
You guys can follow me on Instagram. It's Bajan Bombshell, BHAAN Bombshell 83. And it's the same for TikTok. I love you guys. Thank you for your support. I'm always going to be here. And stay tuned. Check in with me from time to time. I love it.
We love that. And thank you for updating us on social media. Again, one of my girl crushes, Kristal Marshall. We love you so much. Not even kidding. Thank you for being here. And thank you. We're going to update you on social media with all of Kristal's future projects, All Caribbean Wrestling. Make sure you update that as well and find it on social media. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in on Wrestling News Co. Comment below right now to tell us who you want to see next. Step beyond the velvet ropes. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. I'm SoCal Val. Thank you, Kristal. We'll see you next time.
Bye.